Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to our stage today. We're going to be talking about why Asia is crypto's next hub region. And I'm welcomed by Chao Deng. Welcome, Chao.
Thank you, Nona. Thanks, everyone, for joining. My name is Deng Chao from HashKey Capital.
So tell me a little bit about HashKey, and we're going to go on to talk about what you guys see as the big opportunity in Asia. But just help everyone understand what it is you guys do and what you hope to bring afterwards to the Asian market.
Sure. HashKey Capital is one of the world's biggest and earliest institutional investor into the entire blockchain and Web3 ecosystem. We started in 2014, and we launched our first fund in 2017 and early 2018. Now we manage over $1 billion in assets. We operate 3 funds, and we're launching 2 liquid funds under Hong Kong and Singapore's regulated licenses. Over the past years, we have invested over 500 projects globally. I see some of our founders here in the audience. Thanks for coming. We a little bit different from many of our investor friends. We are not a thesis-driven investor.
Not thesis-driven.
Yeah, we are ecosystem investor.
Ecosystem investor.
Yes,
okay.
we invest into all major areas of the blockchain space, starting from the tech layer, middle layer, application, and crypto finance. We are HashKey Capital is the investment arm of the bigger HashKey Digital Asset Group, under which we run regulated exchanges in Hong Kong, Singapore, and Japan. We also have our own custodian, our staking service, and our Web3 infrastructures.
So you're all over the space with the infrastructure and focusing on, like you said, ecosystems that can help push this thing forward. Now, you were just at a show in Hong Kong, and normally what we would do here is sort of compare what's going on in America and what's going on in Asia. But as we've all come to understand, things are not going that great in Asia. When you were at the show in Hong Kong a couple of weeks ago, what was the feeling like? Was there a lot of optimism? Was there a sense of this opportunity for the region? Is that on the tip of people's tongue that Wall Street and US regulators are sort of abdicating the global role to deal with this stuff in America? Was that feeling there? Was there a sense of optimism amongst the folks in Asia around all this stuff?
Sure. We organized this Web3 festival in Hong Kong. I think it is the biggest in the history of Hong Kong and in Asia. We have over 50,000 people joining.
What?
The crowds is much bigger than today. Sorry.
That's fine. Yeah.
Yes, I do sense the optimism. Firstly, because we see support from the government, the regulators, and also we see the entire community, not just from Asia, from all parts of the world, and from all sectors, from the tech layers, from applications, from DeFi, CeFi. They all come to Hong Kong and discuss what they're working on and what are the problems we're facing, what are the challenges or solutions. And I do see in some sessions people talking about the regulations in the US, and they do compare the regulations in the US and in other parts of Asia.
I was in Hong Kong in 2016, and I had an observation where I was talking with some local folks there, and they were explaining to me that they were used to the manipulation of their exchange rate and the price, because it's not a free-floating currency, and they were used to just basically trading Forex and de-risking. And I remember thinking that it was a big disadvantage for North Americans, because patriotism is sort of involved in our thoughts around the dollar, right? It has a lot to do with America's sense of its own country and its own politics. Would you say it's an advantage because in Asia, that's not really there? There is a culture to be proud of, and there's all kinds of things that you're proud of, but just the entrepreneurial spirit isn't coming into direct contact with real policy objectives from a government that's trying to maintain its position. Would you see that as a difference, that the national attitudes are not all mixed up in the money, let's say?
I would say we all love our own countries, but we have to draw a line between business and the government or the regulations. I would say Asian people are all very practical. We are business people. We try to build applications, build our business, and bring benefits to all the users. I do see a lot of investors coming out of Asia, developers, entrepreneurs. They are all doing great in their specific sectors. That's my answer.
If you compare the two situations, though, the optimism and just the fear right now that we have in America that we can get rug pulled by the government at any time. Whereas if you're in Singapore, there seems to be a big collaborative approach to orient and incentivize success of all of these startups, right? We've seen in America, okay, they backstopped the banks to get out of trouble with the startups and Silicon Valley Bank and all those things. But that's not really the support that's needed in order to make sure that business plans have a future to look forward to. What have your experiences been there, meeting with regulators, just about the track ahead and the, let's say, suggestions that they're not going to pull the rug on you and change everything tomorrow in either Hong Kong or in Singapore? It looks like Hong Kong, for example, is doing everything to put out the welcome mat to bring and attract a lot of business back after COVID. Is that enthusiasm and helping chart a path forward one of the reasons why you're excited about what's going on in Asia, and do you really think it's going to keep America back? Because we don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, we run business in major economies in Asia: Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan. From what we see in Asia, I think the regulators or the government, their way towards either crypto or blockchain technologies more from a developing economies perspective, less about politics or about ideology. Take Hong Kong for example. Everybody knows that Hong Kong missed the internet train.
Missed the internet train.
Yes. Yeah. The Web3 and blockchain could be the next biggest opportunity for Hong Kong. Likewise, in Singapore, the regulators has been very neutral about technology itself. What the government or the regulator emphasizes that, firstly, if this is a technology, they should see the potential for real application. Secondly, if it's investment, if it's a token, if it's a security, they apply the same business, same risk, same principle, same regulatory principle. That is what they request. Over the past few years, in my personal contact with the regulators, all they emphasize is that if this is, although in different regions they have different regulatory framework. In Hong Kong, they regulated crypto as a new asset class, they call virtual asset, under the existing SFC regulatory framework. In Singapore, they passed this new law called the PSA, Payment Service Act. They all regulate the businesses, different types of business under very clear regulatory framework. If they needed to protect the investors, they will do that. If they need to protect the consumers, they need to do that. They always emphasize on KYC, AML, all those principles. They never said it is crypto, it's blockchain, so we need a new set of rules. So the regular framework is comparatively clear, I would say.
Now, I want to focus on a really important one, and that's retail versus institutional investors. Now, in America, there's a debate, you got to qualify to invest, so you got to get either a Series 7 license or a bunch of money. Otherwise, you're not welcome at the party, right? And especially for securities. And so they're talking right now in Congress about raising it from $1 million of net worth to $10 million to be able to buy stocks and other securities. Now, when you're looking in your outlook, Hong Kong, and I want to talk a little bit about what you guys see going forward now, is that retail approach, which is very welcome in Asia versus in America. In America, like I said, it's you got to have a 130 IQ, a Series 7 Wall Street license, and $1 million in your pocket just to get started, And of course, that's a big problem. What do you see for the retail opportunities, and is that something you guys are focused on in growing access for retail participants in the market?
I cannot speak for all the regulators or all the regions in Asia. Singapore has been very clear. No retail investors is allowed to invest in regulated products. All investors have to be accredited investors. Hong Kong is changing a little bit. Previously, in Hong Kong, what they call all professional investors are welcome to the party. If you're retail, you're not allowed. We are hearing from the policy consultation that in June or around that time, they will ease the standard a little bit to allow more retail investors to get into crypto investment. But still, there are certain rules. You need to do KYC, AML.
So how does this affect your strategy? What are you looking forward to for the next 5 years to capitalize on perhaps crypto's distinguishing capacity, attractiveness, incentives in Asia?
For HashKey, we come from a industry perspective. Our strategy in the blockchain and Web3 space is try to build and invest into the entire industry. Also, we invest through cycles.
Through cycles?
Cycles.
Okay.
This industry experienced like cycling every 3 or 4 years. At the earlier stage of the cycle, we tend to invest in more the fundamentals, the tech layer, the infrastructures. But as the industry matures, we will shift a little bit towards application. But we've been very careful about assets. If it's targeting retail, we have to ensure that all our businesses are compliant. And we will not operate any particular business if we are not licensed. That's why we have spent a lot of our time and efforts in obtaining licenses in Hong Kong and Singapore. I think we are the biggest group in Asia that is licensed across multiple jurisdictions in Asia. And now we have licenses in asset management, exchange, custodian, staking, and a few other businesses.
So I saw Europe is going to come out with its MiCA, right? Its whole framework on portability. So they're going to create sort of a one licensing regime for the whole continent. Now, you said you've got a collection of these different ones for different regions. Is there any work towards having, or would a Singaporean license be accepted at face value by another jurisdiction, let's say Thailand? Or do they have that portability around the continent? Is anyone working on that? Is that even needed, or is it attractive?
To my knowledge, I don't think we have that framework now. But I do see that the regulators in the region are actively in discussion with each other. I know the regulators in Hong Kong and Singapore are in frequent discussion with each other. For other jurisdictions, I don't have personal experience.
Yeah, so it is really like Hong Kong and Singapore would see a reason to start recognizing each other's licenses and regimes. Maybe Korea would be involved, who knows, but it's at that level.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Very good. Well, we're running out of time, everyone. I hope you got a better sense of what's going on in Asia, the opportunities that are there, the troubles we have in America. Any last words, Deng?
Thanks very much everybody for coming. If you see any business opportunities that we can work together, you're welcome to approach me or my colleagues here in the audience. Thank you.
All right, everyone, thanks a lot.